I have started over and changed dreams and goals several times during my life, and I think it's mostly a good thing. Right now, I'm 43 years old, and I moved with my little family to northern Sweden from Stockholm 3 years ago. In January this year, I started to study at the university again, which is something that I never even thought of when we first moved here. My plan was to get any full-time job and do my art on the side until I could go full-time with my creative practice and turn it into a small business. But sometimes dreams change or alter, and I want to go through some of my backstory for context before addressing the issue of starting over and altering dreams and why I think it's oftentimes a good idea. When I was little, I wanted to become a veterinarian or a farmer's wife in order to spend my time with animals all the day, every day. But a relative told me that in order to be a vet, I needed to go to school for 7 extra years and that it would be way too hard for me. So 7-year-old me decided to reluctantly extinguish that idea. And I was also told that to be a farmer's wife, I had to work very, very hard every day without any pay, and that I really shouldn't go down that road either. So I changed my mind about that as well. But a dream I also had was to have an animal shelter for small animals after having read the story about Meli by Swedish author Selma Lagerlöf. I felt very odd as a child. We didn't know I have autism until way, way later in life. I think I was about 35, 36-ish. So the dream of having an animal shelter lived on because I didn't tell anyone. And still to this day, I want to run a little animal shelter or start to foster small animals in need. I'm not there yet though, and I have no rush. Time for that will appear when it's a better fit for my life. The next big dream I had was to get a horse of my own. And that's a dream that I have changed myself. I still love horses and I miss being in the stables, but I don't want the consuming task of taking care for a horse full time now that I have a family and everything else that I do during the day. However, I really want to start riding at the riding school in town in a few years after the university studies are over. Anyhow, when I was around 9 or 10 and was heavily into horses, horse books and horse comics, I started to really have an interest in drawing. My big hero was the Swedish illustrator Lena Fureberg, who wrote and illustrated numerous comics in my favorite horse magazine, Min Häst. The dream of becoming a horse illustrator had come alive with a fire, and horses consumed my entire life, both in the stables and when I was at home drawing horses or reading about horses. Horses were my special interest, to say the least. Like I said, I have autism. It wasn't until my teens, during art class, where I found Salvador Dali and surrealism, that I started to dream about becoming a fine artist instead of a comic book illustrator. And with my newfound interest in fantasy books, I was immersed in amazing book cover artwork, and I was heavily influenced by it. The book cover artwork back in the 90s were quite different from what they are now with AI and everything, but that's a question for another time. But anyway, I wanted to become an artist and applied to art college years later, but I didn't get in. It's very hard to get in, very few positions, and my art was not ready for that at the time. So I put my dreams aside for other stuff for a pretty long time, like going out partying, going to festivals, going to concerts. I went through years of different college and university studies in a couple of places on a few different topics, like web programming, art history, cultural history, and so on. So I was very focused about the creative stuff, but I didn't go to a real art school. I just learned the history and the theory behind it and symbolism. Oh my god. I'm going to talk about symbolism in another video. Anywho, I moved from town to town, from my hometown in southern Sweden to Stockholm eventually, and I lived there for about 15 years. I met my partner and we had our child. we decided to move to my partner's hometown in northern Sweden, which was a big step. Going from big city to country life is a really big difference. And as I didn't have a job here, I tried a few different things, including work at a preschool as a nanny, without any formal education in that area and not knowing what to expect. And to be honest, the job came like quite a shock before I got used to it. Working with kids is very, very active and intense. At the same time, I pivoted with my art and started making animal portraits in order to make money selling my art. But I actually lost all interest in creating by going down that road. And I realized it just wasn't for me. I didn't feel true to myself and my creativity. And I didn't create for quite a while. I just focused on work and my family, and I realized that I really loved my job as a preschool nanny after coming out of a depression that had made me question everything. I don't know, maybe it was like a midlife crisis of a sort, or it was just a bipolar episode. I have no idea. It doesn't really matter because I'm out of it now. But at that time, I also realized that I wanted a more permanent solution than as temporary by-the-hour jobs as a nanny. I wanted at least a part-time contract, but a permanent employment. Something safe with a fixed income so that I could feel secure. That's when I decided to change my plans and keep my art as more of a hobby instead of the full-time artist goal. So instead, I applied to university to become a preschool teacher. And I got in. I did this so that I could increase my chances of getting a permanent position and work with kids, which is something very, very fun, creative, and very challenging. And this way I can create whatever I want in my free time, experiment with all the art supplies and art styles and subjects I want, whatever I want to express, without any limits or pressure that I need to sell. Of course, I'm very happy when I sell a piece. For example, I sold this drawing a few weeks ago, which I was so thrilled about, but I want a more reliable source of income, which would calm my nerves and my bank account. And another thing, since I moved from Stockholm, I've become a lot more of a social person. And I need to have people around me on a regular basis, which preschool gives me. There are a lot of fun kids and a lot of fun adults. So doing this university thing, and sometimes jump in as a temp nanny at preschool to get social and a bit of cash and keep making my own art on the side is something that I really enjoy. But this change of focus and altering of my big dreams was not an easy choice to make. It really was quite a simple mindset shift, but it took a lot of effort on my part to process and come to terms with it, because my autistic brain does not always comply with big changes. But the big thing is, I really love working with kids, and I really love making art. So nowadays, my big dream and goal for the future is to work part-time as a preschool teacher and part-time as an artist. I want both worlds, and I think it's the best and most reality-based decision for me. Like 75% teacher and 25 to 50% artist, or something like that. That would be really awesome. So this is my long-winded way of saying that it's okay to let go of old dreams or alter them to better fit your reality. And it's never too late to start something new, or move to a new place, or change careers. I mean, I'm almost 44-year-old, and I have an almost 4-year young child, and I have moved between multiple cities and towns in Sweden and tried a bunch of different jobs. And now I'm a university student once again. I'm really thankful that Swedish education is free of charge, because 3.5 years extra at the university, after already having gone there for 4 years, would be probably pretty steep to pay once done with the studies. And I do get that everyone is different and have different conditions around them, different backgrounds, families, and so on. But don't be afraid to start something new. Just a little step at a time can be enough to eventually make a big change in your life, and it may lead to a fuller and happier life. Until next time, take care. Bye!